Stepmom insisted I pay $800 rent, so I removed her two idle kids and reclaimed the $1.2 house my grandparents quietly left me. Edit. Wow, this thing exploded overnight. Thank you all for the support and attention. I'll do my best to respond to comments. To those calling this fake, I wish it was. I have evidence but won't share it due to legal reasons. Edit 2. For context, I'm 22 female. My dad is 46 male. My stepmom, let's call her Tina, is 43 female. My stepbrother Brad is 25 male, and my stepsister Sophie is 21 female. These aren't their real names, obviously. All right, grab a snack. This is a long one. I've been bottling this up for weeks and need to let it out. There's a lot to unpack, so bear with me. Background: my mom passed away from breast cancer when I was 8. It was devastating, and my dad was a mess, barely holding it together for the first year. My mom's parents, absolute legends, stepped in, practically living with us to help raise me while Dad kept his business afloat. Quick note about the house, as it's crucial later. My grandparents were fairly well off, not mega rich but comfortable. They bought this big 4-bedroom home in a nice Boston neighborhood so we could all live together, ensuring I was properly cared for. It worked well for a while, but then Dad met Tina at a business conference in Chicago about 2 years after Mom's death. He was there to expand his consulting firm, and she was an event planner. Dad said they hit it off. Tina probably saw a vulnerable widower with a business and pounced, moving cross-country after just 3 months of knowing him. 6 months later, they were married. Major red flags, here's where it gets wild. Tina brought her 2 kids. Brad, now 25, was 11 and already a spoiled jerk. Sophie, now 21, was 7 and seemed okay at first, but Tina molded her into a mini version of herself. My grandparents tried to stay polite, but I overheard them late at night saying they didn't trust Tina, suspecting she was after Dad's money. Spoiler, they were right. But they stayed quiet for Dad's sake, as he seemed happy for the first time since Mom died. The early years were rough. Tina started with subtle jabs, complaining about the house's dated decor, it wasn't, saying the kitchen needed a remodel, it didn't, and implying my grandparents were old-fashioned. Then she got bolder, rearranging furniture without asking, tossing out Mom's keepsakes claiming they were clutter, and slowly taking over the house. My grandparents were too kind to protest, and Dad was too smitten to notice. Then the chores started. At first it seemed fair, everyone should pitch in, right? Except everyone meant just me. Brad was too busy with sports, he was terrible at basketball, but Tina made Dad pay for private coaching. Sophie was too young, despite being only a year younger than me. By age 12, I was handling most of the cooking and cleaning. Tina would inspect my work like a drill sergeant, pointing out specks of dust I missed. Meanwhile, Brad's room reeked of cheap cologne and stale snacks, and Sophie's floor was a clothing landfill she meant to organize. Here's the critical part I only learned recently. My grandparents passed away in 2019, Grandma from heart issues, Grandpa 3 months later, unable to go on without her. They had secretly put the house in my name. Legally, it's mine, all mine. They must have foreseen this mess and wanted to protect me. I had no clue, and Dad knew but never thought to mention it. Big mistake. Tina didn't know either, or she'd have tried to weasel her way onto the deed. For years, I lived like a servant in my own home, cooking, cleaning, doing everyone's laundry, including Brad's sweaty gym clothes, while Tina lounged, watching reality TV and criticizing my dishwasher loading skills. Brad graduated college 2 years ago, barely, probably thanks to Dad's connections, and hasn't worked since, claiming he's building a career as a content creator. His TikTok has 200 followers, mostly videos of him doing awful dance moves. Sophie's in her 3rd year of college, supposedly studying business but actually partying and posting Instagram pics of her coffee cups. Dad funds everything: her barely used apartment near campus, her car, which she's crashed twice, and her maxed-out credit cards. Meanwhile, I worked part-time at Starbucks, took online classes, did all the chores, and saved money because Tina kept hinting I needed to contribute financially. The day it all exploded was typical. I just finished an 8-hour Starbucks shift, dealing with a customer who screamed about oat milk, another story. Exhausted, I came home to cook dinner because heaven forbid Brad pauses his gaming or Sophie puts down her phone. I'm in the kitchen making a pasta recipe I found online when Tina struts in, wearing a dress she claims is designer, probably from a discount rack. She's got that look, like a teacher catching you chewing gum. She sits at the counter watching me cook like a hawk. I'm braced for her usual complaints, too much onion last week, too spicy the week before. Then she drops the bomb. We need to talk about your living arrangement. I'm like my living arrangement. I've been here longer than you. But she goes on. Your dad and I think it's time you paid rent. You're working now, so it's unfair for you to live here free while we cover your expenses. The audacity. I'm stirring sauce, probably burning it, trying to process this nonsense. I hear Brad upstairs shouting about his video game stats and Sophie's TikTok blaring in the living room. I ask, keeping my voice steady because I'm petty but not reckless. What about Brad and Sophie? Are they paying rent? Tina does this dramatic napkin dab at her mouth. She hasn't eaten and says, "That's different. They're my kids and they're still finding their way. Brad's working on his content career and Sophie's focused on her studies." I nearly choked. Brad's career is lip-syncing to trending songs for 3 viewers, one's probably Tina. Sophie's studies involve more frat parties than textbooks. Then Tina lays out her reasonable rent demand. $800 a month plus utilities and I'd still do chores. Something in me snapped. Years of playing Cinderella, enduring snide comments, washing Brad's nasty socks, and picking up Sophie's fake eyelashes. It all hit me. I turned off the stove, safety first, set down the spoon, and looked Tina square in her overdone face. "Let me be clear," I said, calm as ever. Brad, who hasn't earned a dime since graduation and screams at kids online, doesn't pay rent. Sophie, who's never touched a mop and blows through credit cards, doesn't pay rent. But I do. Tina's face twitched, probably the Botox fighting back. She started babbling about me being more settled and family helping family, straight out of some online parenting forum. That's when I decided to drop my own bombshell. I called everyone to the dining room, saying I wanted to discuss this as a family. Petty, I know. Brad grumbled about pausing his game. Sophie acted like getting off the couch was torture, but they gathered. Tina restated her rent plan like she was running a board meeting. Brad smirked, probably thinking he'd get more gaming cash now. Sophie was filming, loving the drama as long as it wasn't about her. Then I said it. "I'm not paying rent because this house is mine." The silence was chef's kiss. I wish I'd recorded their faces. Brad froze mid-bite, pasta sliding off his fork. Sophie's jaw dropped, no filter needed. Tina's brain seemed to buffer like a computer crashing. Then they all laughed, hysterical, snorting laughter. "Good one," Brad said, sauce on his chin. "Did you see that on TikTok?" Sophie was already filming for her family drama series, 50 followers max. Tina tried to laugh but looked panicked, like when her card gets declined at a budget store. "What are you talking about?" she said, voice shaky. "This house is mine and your dad's." I leaned back, channeling calm villain energy. "Why don't you call Dad and ask?" Tina's fake nails attacked her phone screen, putting it on speaker for her usual audience. Dad answered, sounding drained, probably from funding Brad's brand. Tina, all fake sweet, said, "Mark, Lucy's saying wild things about the house belonging to her." "That's not true, right?" The silence was deafening. Dad cleared his throat, his nervous tick, and said, "Well, actually, my in-laws put the house in Lucy's name before they passed." Boom. Tina's face cycled through red, white, and a weird greenish hue. "What do you mean her name?" she shrieked. "When were you going to tell me?" Dad mumbled. "I didn't think it was a big deal." Classic Dad. Tina hung up mid-sentence, slamming her phone so hard I hoped it cracked. Brad went pale, realizing his gaming setup was in my house. Sophie stopped filming, her TikTok dreams crumbling. Tina was breathing like she'd run a marathon in her knockoff heels, trying to stay composed but failing. "Well," she stammered, "this is a misunderstanding. Of course you don't pay rent, Lucy. Let's forget this." But I was done forgetting years of their garbage. "Oh, we're not forgetting," I said, pausing for effect. "It's time we discuss your living arrangement." Tina's horrified look, better than any gift I've ever gotten. But it gets better. While they sat there reeling, Tina's phone buzzed with texts from Dad. She ignored them, but I knew he was panicking, sending her the legal docs proving I own the house. That night, I went to bed feeling unstoppable, like I'd just stood up to a lifelong bully. The next morning, I overheard Tina on the phone with Dad, on speaker, of course. She was trying to convince him to make me move out. "Mark, you need to handle this. Your daughter's causing trouble," she said. Dad, exhausted, replied, "What can I do?" Tina, in her manipulative tone, suggested, "What about those out-of-state colleges she applied to? Tell her it's for her independence. I'm worried about her mental health, all this anger she's carrying." My mental health. The only thing hurting me was living with a real-life Disney villain. Then Dad said, "Maybe you're right, I'll talk to her about moving out." I nearly screamed. My own dad, who I'd cared for after Mom died, was considering pushing me out of my house. I walked into the kitchen like I hadn't heard a thing. Tina nearly dropped her phone, still in her fake silk robe, holding a Best Mom mug, a dollar store gift from Brad and Sophie. "Morning, sweetie," she said like she wasn't plotting against me. She claimed she made coffee, she just used my Keurig. I made breakfast because Tina can't cook beyond microwaving and the tension was thick. Brad shoveled cereal while scrolling TikTok. Sophie photographed her untouched avocado toast. Tina pretended to check emails but was clearly Googling how to evict a homeowner. Then I had fun. "Hey, Tina," I said casually, "I thought about your rent idea. You're right, people should pay to live here. Based on market rates, $1,200 per person sounds fair. That's $3,600 for you, Brad, and Sophie, plus utilities and a security deposit." Chaos erupted. Brad choked on his cereal. Sophie's toast landed on her shirt. Tina looked like she'd faint. "You can't be serious," she sputtered. "We're family." I pulled out my phone where I'd recorded her call with Dad. "Let's talk about your plan to ship me off." Things got wild. Tina knocked over her mug. It didn't break, sadly, and screeched. "Recording me is illegal." I smiled. "Massachusetts is a one-party consent state. Also, my house, my rules." Brad's mouth was open, milk dripping. Sophie was texting her group chat. Tina paced, muttering about her lawyer cousin who handles DUIs, not real estate. Then she tried gaslighting. "Lucy, this anger isn't healthy. Maybe college in Ohio would help." I cut her off. "I'm not going anywhere. This is my house. If anyone's leaving, it's not me." Tina lost it, calling me names I won't repeat. She ranted about raising me, by making me a maid and sacrificing, by shopping at discount stores. Brad whined, "This is BS. I'm about to blow up on Twitch." "He wasn't," Sophie screamed. "Daddy won't let you do this." "He didn't." I sipped my coffee, watching their entitlement unravel. Tina called Dad again, expecting him to fix it, but I'd already texted him the recording and explained everything. For once, he kinda had my back. "Tracy, it's her house," he said firmly. "Maybe we should find a new place." The silence was glorious. Tina's face showed shock, anger, then fear she was losing her free ride. Then she made her worst move. She got in my face. "I don't care whose name is on the deed. This is my house. I've lived here 12 years and no brat will kick me out. I'll make your life hell." Perfect. I'd recorded that too. I'd also consulted a lawyer, thanks, online forums. Threatening the homeowner? Bad idea. My grandparents didn't just leave me the house. They set up a trust or estate. I'm fuzzy on the terms to make it ironclad. My lawyer laughed at Tina's threats. The next day, I went full nuclear. I served them all eviction notices with official court papers. Tina tried to refuse them, but that's not how it works. Brad threw his gaming chair down the stairs. It broke. Sweet justice. Sophie had a meltdown on Instagram Live, gaining a few followers. Tina called every lawyer in town, but word spread she had no case. Even her DUI cousin wouldn't touch it. Tina then tried social media, posting a sob story about her cruel stepdaughter, making her family homeless. It backfired when my mom's friend Ellen shared years of screenshots exposing Tina's behavior. Tina's fancy friends ghosted her. Turns out they don't vibe with homeless drama. Brad realized his content creator gig wasn't a job. 247 followers don't pay bills. Sophie's sorority friends learned her luxury life was fake, triggering her identity crisis. Tina's final desperate act. While I was at work, she tried stealing my mom's heirloom jewelry. I'd installed cameras after the eviction notices, thanks Reddit. I caught her on video stuffing necklaces into her tacky purse. I called the cops, filed a report, and showed the footage. Tina's fake tears didn't work. The officer, a no-nonsense woman, wasn't buying the family excuse. "I haven't pressed charges yet. It strengthens my eviction case." My lawyer was thrilled. Tina's independent wealth was a lie. She has nowhere to go and is panicking. She begged my dad's sister for help, but Aunt Karen sent her sketchy apartment listings. I felt a twinge of guilt until I remembered Tina donating Mom's ornaments. Dad finally grew a spine, telling Tina he won't stay if she fights this. He's tired of her too. Final update. On the last day of the eviction deadline, Tina tried one last stunt. She called a family meeting, what family, in a knockoff designer suit claiming it was vintage. She gave a speech about choosing to leave to avoid negativity. Then she tried her trump card, but it fell flat. I'd already won. "They're gone now. I'll update if anything else happens."